Hey guys, welcome back. It sure is exciting with Tears of the Kingdom around the corner, isn't it? There are so many unanswered questions, so many mysteries to be solved, and so much theorizing to be done in the community. The one that I want to focus on today involves the location of the Triforce, and what exactly is going on with Princess Zelda when she is using her sealing powers. Well, I think I've cracked it, so stay tuned as it has some pretty serious implications on the directions of Tears of the Kingdom. Before I get into that though, I need to bring something up. On March 13th, a fellow content creator, Monster Maze, put up a video about the mysteries of the Triforce. I will link to that below. I wrote this script on March 11th, and shortly after I had recorded this, Monster Maze put up his video. As such, I've re-recorded this intro. I bring this up because a lot of what I say in this video is similar to what he says. And though I draw a somewhat different conclusion as to why Zelda is able to use her powers, I need to make it clear that fundamentally we are drawing a very similar conclusion as a whole. Now, with that out of the way, I'm Cornelius Belmont, and let's talk about the Triforce Blessing. Thanks for watching the video. If you like my content, please like and subscribe to the channel. I've recently started a Patreon. More on that at the end. A special thanks to these people for letting me use their assets. Spoilers ahead for the following games. Let's get into it. The first thing that we need to understand is what is going on with Princess Zelda in Breath of the Wild. She is told from a very early age that she needs to unlock her sealing powers. That she needs her sealing powers in order to stop the calamity. She has lost any guidance on the process due to the death of her mother, and is left to blindly wander in those footsteps, believing and being told that if she prays at the 3 springs of virtue, that her powers will awaken. What this power does is largely unclear. We see Zelda activate it exactly 3 times, and each time it seems to obliterate malice, leaving hundreds of Guardian Husk in its wake, wiping out the remnants of Dark Beast Ganon, and presumably suppressing Ganon's power while Zelda is captured during the 100 years. Each time that she accesses this power, the mark of the Triforce appears on her hand, reminiscent to when the power of the relic is being accessed by others throughout the series. We are led to believe that the power fundamentally comes from the blood of Hylia running through her veins. But if we look at the legend from Skyward Sword, that doesn't exactly track. You see, in that game, Hylia had no choice but to give up her goddess form to be reborn as a mortal in order to use the power of the Triforce. As for some reason, only mortals are able to use that divine power. So the question becomes, when Zelda is using her powers in these 3 scenes, is she using the sealing power of Hylia buried in her bloodline? Or is she accessing the Triforce and using its power to make her will reality? We know from Skyward Sword that when the Triforce is used, it grants wishes to the holder. It could very easily be that the will to stop the calamity, to seal the calamity, is merely the Triforce interpreting Zelda's will and wiping the malice from existence. It could also be the case that when it activated in Hateno Field, that Zelda's wish and desire wasn't so much to seal the calamity, but instead to save Link. Maybe it's a bit ironic that with all the gripes people have about Fi being so chatty in Skyward Sword, that her lack of explanation here causes so much confusion. Ultimately though, we are left with a lingering question if Zelda is using some Hylia goddess power buried within her, or if she is accessing and using the Triforce. If it is the latter, then we should talk about that process more. In order to use the Triforce, the heart of the user must be in balance. More specifically, as stated by Zelda in Skyward Sword, in order to use that supreme power, one must have the qualities of power, wisdom, and courage. The user must also have an unbreakable spirit in order to use it. Other entries into the series speak of a Triforce split. how, upon being touched by a person who lacks these three qualities, the Triforce will break apart, leaving a single piece with the one who touched it, and the other two going to those who are most qualified to hold it. Indeed, much of the struggle in the series has been over the possession of these pieces and its supreme power. Princess Zelda, and the voice of Hylia herself, explain that the mark of the Triforce that appears on Link's hand is proof of those qualities. Qualities that were tempered into him on his journey to learn the virtues of wisdom, power, and courage. Throughout Link's journey, we can see this progress when he interacts with the flames of the Golden Goddesses, and each time they add a piece of the holy relic to his hand. This was the act that made Link worthy of the Triforce later when he claimed the pieces from the Silent Realm. How does this relate to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Well, dear viewer, we must merely look at the path taken by our esteemed Princess Zelda. It is undeniable that had Zelda's mother not been killed, that she would have had the teacher needed to unlock her powers. There is a catch to that though, which is quite simply that this information is only ever passed down from mother to daughter. You would think that it would be written somewhere so that if a tragedy like this ever came about, that the knowledge would not be lost. Before I go into speculation on the suppression of knowledge, allow me to present the benefits of Zelda going to the three springs of virtue that we see in the memories of Breath of the Wild. It is my belief that as Zelda went to each spring and prayed in the freezing waters, that she gained the blessing of those virtues. She herself became worthy of wielding the absolute power, and that she had but to attain the Triforce in order to use it. The problem is that within the world presented in Breath of the Wild, nobody actually seems to know about the Triforce itself outside of insignia and concepts throughout Hyrule Castle and other religious places. It is as though the people of Hyrule don't actually think the Triforce is a physical object with divine power, but rather the embodiment of divine power within the bloodline of the princess. This is the key to the mystery. The Triforce is already in play. I believe that it is inside Princess Zelda herself, passed down from mother to daughter. I believe that the power remains unusable until the princess gains the traits needed to access that power, and that may involve praying at the three springs. The Calamity was working to delay Princess Zelda from being able to pray at the Spring of Wisdom, the one that requires her to be age 17 to access by Hylian law. So the real goal of the Calamity, the rising aggression of the monsters, and all the distractions put in place, they were there to prevent Zelda from reaching the shrine, and thus to prevent her from having the qualities needed to use the relic. The power of the Triforce can alter reality, bend the world to the user's will. This is stated clearly in Skyward Sword. It would make sense that such knowledge would be kept in the utmost secrecy, for there would no doubt be those who would attempt to obtain the qualities in order to use the relic. At the end of Skyward Sword, we see that the relic is in possession of the Hylians, and so it isn't too far of a stretch to think that they would store it away someplace safe. The Silent Realm is a viable option. After all, that is where Hylia chose to put it. Perhaps they might even build a mighty temple or two to safeguard the entrance. This is Future Belmont coming back to change my stance on the Silent Realm. Monster Maze video has persuaded me into believing that the Silent Realm is not the Sacred Realm, but is actually a spiritual realm entirely different. I don't quite believe that it was inside of Link the entire time, but I'm not ruling it out either. Anyhow, back to my musings. Given that the Triforce can reside inside of people, consider that it might just be safer to keep it inside the princess and not tell anybody of this. A legend passed down only by the queen to her daughter, of a secret that is carried deep within her, a power that can only be accessed by praying at these three locations, and only once the princess is old enough to adequately show that she has the wisdom not to misuse that power. The ancient tapestry from 10,000 years earlier clearly shows the princess using the Triforce to battle the Calamity alongside the chosen hero. When Zelda accesses her power in the game, the mark of the relic appears on her hand, and all 3 pieces are blazing with golden light. Zelda has the Triforce. It is not the power of Hylia that hides within her veins. Skyward Sword itself says that Hylia gave up her powers when she became mortal. The power hidden inside of Zelda is nothing short than the power to rewrite reality, a manifestation of her will. She used it when she saved Link in Hateno Field. Not fully understanding what she had done, she continued to use it when going to Hyrule Castle to battle the Calamity. And of course, at the end of the game, she used it to obliterate Calamity Ganon from the face of Hyrule. Assuming that my theory here is true, going into Tears of the Kingdom, we now have to ask what is going on. Zelda would have the Triforce, would have the means of rewriting reality, and lacks the knowledge of what she can actually do. They are going to confront the corpse of Ganondorf. It will awaken, and she may die in the conflict. It could be that the true story of Tears of the Kingdom will be gathering the Triforce pieces by Link, and then using them to bring Zelda back to life, or somehow using them to undo her demise. This is all heavy speculation, and there are about 2 more months before we have our answers. And I'm sure, just like me, you are all very eager to find out. Well, that was a doozy to go through, and I'm kicking myself for not putting this up earlier, as I've been toying with this idea for a bit. All the same, I welcome feedback to this theory in the comments below. So tell me, viewers, do you think that the Triforce was in Princess Zelda all along, passed down by her mother? Do you think that the springs are actually needed in order to gain the associated virtues? Or are they just leftover tradition? Let me know in the comments below. This channel is supported by Patreon. If you like what I do, whether it be the Let's Talk About series, Judgment Time, or the Let's Chat About podcast, consider joining. Patreon is the backbone of content creators on YouTube, and I'm still small here, so I could really use that support. Patrons gain access to my Discord server where I get feedback directly from you on upcoming topics. And I should warn you that I can get pretty chatty with this stuff when it's 2 a.m. in the morning. Well, that's it for today. This is Cornelius Belmont, and may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.